Hey everybody! So today we're going to be doing Isaiah chapter 10. So the first 4 verses, 1 through 4, it goes along with chapter 9. And so there was 4 sections that ended with God's hand being poised to strike, and this is the 4th one. So it talks about how the people of Israel, especially those in place of authority and power, had taken advantage of the weak. They treated all these people poorly. And God says, since you treated all these people badly, when judgment comes, who do you expect to be able to turn to? Who's going to actually be willing to help you? And God says the only thing that he has to do to actually bring judgment to them is take away his protection. That without God, they are nothing compared to their enemies. So they will be made to bow down in humiliation and suffering by their enemies. Then again, it ends the same way. His previous judgment was not enough. There is still more sin to judge. So he would not remove his judgment until his people repented and turned back to him. So next is verses 5 through 11. So earlier we talked about how God was going to use Assyria to punish Judah. But Assyria was still wicked and their actions aren't excused, which is why it says, woe to Assyria. They hadn't done it intending to do the will of God, but Assyrians had this big plan to make a world empire with all their conquests. They thought of all their princes or commanders as kings of other nations that they had conquered. They were extremely prideful. They thought of the Lord as nothing more than an idol, and that their idols were so much more powerful. Then verses 12 through 19, the Assyrians thought all their success was from their own strength and wisdom, so God said he is going to punish them for all their pride and arrogance. God uses an example of an axe, a rod, and a staff to show how instruments can't take credit for the work. It's the worker who does the work with the instrument. So disaster is going to come against their army, and their numbers will be so few that a child will be able to count them. So now it moves to a section called Hope for the Lord's People. So verses 20 through 23, the remnant of Israel will no longer depend on allies like Assyria, but depend on the Lord. So this speaks of the remnants that returned from exile and also the remnants of Jewish believers during the tribulation. So the reason for all these trials had been to bring them to a place of trusting in the Lord. So no matter what, God promises to always keep a remnant of his people, and they will never be fully destroyed. Then verses 24 through 34, Assyria is going to march against Jerusalem, but the people of Judah shouldn't be afraid because God will intervene, and Judah will be free from their control. So even when God uses their enemies to bring judgment, he is always in control. We can put our full trust in him. But as they approach Jerusalem, he names certain cities in Judah that will be attacked as judgment, but God will restore them. But as the armies begin to approach Jerusalem, God destroys them in one night. He ends this chapter promising that even those of high stature will see God's judgment. The Mighty One wants to humble all to fully depend on him. Okay, thanks.